Hey guys, I'm an okgamergirl and welcome to OK to Play, where I review games through a mental health lens and point out different things that might impact your gaming experience or things that may have prevented you from trying a game out. As a long-time member of the Mental Illness Club, I always ask myself certain questions before I get into a game to make sure my brain will be happy with it. I'm only going to focus on my own experiences with mental health, but feel free to jump in with your own experiences in the comments. I hope you find this different approach helpful if you choose to play any of these games. An action RPG twin-stick shooter based in a seedy cyberpunk world, the Ascent is a dark and interesting dystopia filled with all kinds of alien and humanoid creatures. It's available on PC, PS4 and 5, Xbox One, Series S and X, and through Game Pass. Because of the hugely fictional world, there may not be too many triggers to be aware of. There is a theme of enslavement and faction disputes with politics that go along with both. There is also weapon-based combat of the bang kind, but no gore as far as I could see. The story and world is dark and the hub city is really overcrowded, which may make some people feel uncomfortable. As a game that can be played both online and local co-op, that brings their own set of possible triggers and issues that can occur when playing with other people. The world created is so rich and detailed, where you can almost smell the smoke and metal, feel the heat from the exposed pipelines, and get blinded by huge neon lights. There's a cutscene explaining the world in which we are living, enslaved by a mega corporation called the Ascent group. There are rival factions at war trying to bring down and expose the Ascent group. We are tasked with preventing this from happening and bring down the competitors. Our home is in a densely packed city, or arcology, set in a dystopian future. You're thrown straight into a character creation screen, which has quite a good range of choices for customizing. Don't get too hung up on the look of your character or what they're wearing. You won't be looking at them most of the time, and you'll pick up new gear almost immediately. The NPCs are uniquely designed and have a variety of personalities. This amount of effort put into the design made me want to stick around in this world and see where the story led me. The missions are few and far between, and exploring little nooks and crannies is very tempting. This makes the game move slowly if you're nosy like me. The map is a little confusing at first, with different levels and not a whole lot of detail, which made me run around in circles for a while trying to find where I was supposed to go. There is a little spark trail that leads you to your waypoint, but sometimes it's not all that helpful. Sometimes you have to talk to as many people as possible to help move things along, but that in itself is time consuming. There's a lot of reading, either conversations or data pads that can be picked up, on top of tutorial pop-ups. But there are voice characters you can come across.
Oh, look at you, positively bristling with ambition and a taste for mindless violence. Just what I need. Might be able.
If you're having trouble during combat, you can always buy new gear or weapons, and there's even a vendor who can change the appearance of your gear while preserving the stats. You also level up and can assign points to certain skills to suit your gameplay style, while your base stats increase passively. The Ascent took a great deal of my focus to get through, as I had to concentrate on the mission I was on, where I was going, aiming at enemies, and taking in the environment. As I said, the design is excellent, but it can feel too busy at times, especially with such a small amount of screen being used for the character and the action. Throw in the twin-stick shooter combat, and I found myself having to really think when to shoot over objects or where I could take cover. This is all my experience, remember. Some of you who like this type of game might be shaking your head at me. Don't let me put the rest of you off though. Once you get used to what you have to keep track of, how the combat works and how to use the map, it can be very enjoyable to get into. This is a slow-moving game, but I wouldn't class it as relaxing. There are a lot of mechanics to learn and understand, all while keeping track of stories and missions. It can be a bit much, but you can also run around just trying to find loot, as you can find treasures in out-of-the-way places. Sometimes you'll run into enemies one after the other. Sometimes you'll realise there's no one around for miles. This makes the game go up and down with action, almost keeping you on your toes. The controls are pretty generic for a twin-stick shooter. I'm not a huge fan of this genre as it confuses my thumbs, but for the more coordinated amongst you, you won't have anything new to learn. The combat was simple enough, with only a few new mechanics such as aiming over objects or dropping mines or bombs. The enemies aren't too tough, and if and when they take you down, you're brought back nearby. Knowing you can play solo or co-op does give this game an extra bonus, as you have the choice of going through it alone or getting a little help. The main frustration for me was the information dump at the beginning of the game. The story and background being so detailed and the world so busy. I got lost in the tunnels at first and forgot where I was going and why I was going there at some points. Also, I got stuck on items while in combat, which ended up causing me to lose fights. When exploring, I accidentally wandered into a high-level area and got completely demolished by the faction residing there. But there were no warnings or obvious signs to tell me to avoid it, so make sure you know where you're going. Overall, The Ascent is an in-depth, highly detailed game with easy-to-learn combat. The choice of solo or co-op play makes the game adaptable for all kinds of players. The story, while interesting, can be convoluted or confusing at points, and missions are sometimes hard to track. I do really love the art direction and the sense of an overcrowded space, but everything else seems to have taken a back seat. So if you're looking for a more light-hearted game, maybe give this a miss. If you like dark, dystopian cyberpunk worlds and twin-stick shooters, this game is okay to play.